Today, we will be going over our Unit 3B study guide. So by the end of today's lesson, you will know how to find the slope given any particular thing, whether it be an equation, whether it be 2 points, or whether it be a graph. You will be able to identify roots, zeros, x-intercepts, and y-intercepts, and you'll be able to tell the difference between all those things. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go through the study guide. I'm going to try to be very specific with each of these things, so that way if you missed any of the lessons prior, uh, you can watch the study guide and it'll get you completely caught up. All right, so let's go. This test on Friday has two objectives in it. Objective 3 and I believe objective 4. We covered objectives 1 and 2 in the Unit 3A test. Yeah, so objective 4 and objective 3 are going to be the things covered on this study guide and on this test. So this will be 2 test grades for each objective, okay? So let's go ahead and start with number 1. Let me go ahead and make this full screen. Our directions say use the information provided, or using the information provided, identify the slope, okay? Number 1 says, what is the slope of the line represented in this equation? I'm going to show you a foolproof method for finding the slope of any line given an equation. There are actually a couple of different methods. I'll show you one that'll work every time, and then while we're in class, go ahead and ask me in the Zoom chat to show you the other one. So let's get started with this first one. What is the slope of the line represented in this equation at negative 5x plus 6y equals 30? So the way we're going to do this, we are going to put this equation in slope intercept form first, and then finding our slope will be mega simple, mega easy, be like a walk in the park. So to put this in slope intercept form, I'm going to get y by itself. So I'm going to add 5x to both sides, plus 5x here and plus 5x here. Negative 5x plus 5x goes to 0, and what I'm left with is the 6y equals. Now we have 30 plus 5x. These two things are not like terms, so I will not have 35 or 6y equals 35, and I won't have 6y equals 35x because these two things are not like terms, so we can't combine them. So this will be 6y equals 5x plus 30. All right. And a little thing I want you all to start doing is writing that x term first after that equal sign. So that way, when you go to solve these, it will be in slope intercept form. You won't have to rearrange any terms and possibly make a mistake doing that. All right. So now that we're here, we're going to divide this side by 6y. And if we divide each term on this side by 6, I'm sorry, we're going to divide this 6y by 6, and then each term on the right side by 6. And what we end up with is y equals 5 over 6x. We can't reduce that or simplify that at all. So that's just going to be 5 over 6x. Don't forget that x plus, and then we have 30 over 6. 30 over 6 can be reduced because 6 goes into 30 evenly, and this will be 5. So we have y equals 5x plus 5. Now, if you remember back to that first set of notes that we did, our slope, our m is slope. Actually, I'm going to put that in a different spot. I'm going to put it back over here. Our m is slope, and it's always going to be that coefficient of x, that number next to x. All right. Ooh, that box looks kind of rough, but you get the point. So what we end up with is m is equal to 5 over 6. 5, 6. That's our slope. So this is the first method that we have to finding our slope. If this method is long and you want to look at a different method, ask me in class. It involves using decimals, and I'll go over it probably as a warm-up or something. If I haven't, then you can come back, ask me, or if you would like clarification on it, you can come back through and ask me how to find the slope of a line using the other method. But this method, putting it in slope intercept form, will always work. All right, now let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, find the slope of the line through the points -2, -1, and 4, 3. So once again, and I'm actually going to type this portion out because my writing isn't the best up here. Remember, our m, our slope equals, not slop. Let me change that color to black. Our slope equals m, and that's going to be rise over, I can't spell tonight, rise over run, okay? And the formula for that is going to be our second y value minus our first y value. So that y2 minus y1 all over, I forgot I got to put this whole thing in parentheses to do that. All of that over our second x value, which is that x2, minus our first x value, okay? So y2, which is our second y value, minus our first y value, and over our second x value minus our first x value. So that's just going to be the change in y over the change in x. That's what that rise over run is. And so that's how we're going to set this thing up, okay? And I'll actually go ahead and write out the rest of this. So we have this x2, and let me zoom in a bit. It makes it easier to write. We have this number here is our x1. This number here is our y1, because this is our first y. This is our first x, I'm sorry, right here. And this is our first y. That's why this is x1 and this one is y1. Then over here, we have our x2 and y2, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to have our y2 minus y1. So that's going to be 3 minus negative 1 over x2 minus x1, 4 minus negative 2, okay? And so now we do that. We have that. Now we're just going to do some simple computations. 3 minus a negative 1 is going to give me, where's my cursor at? 3 minus negative 1 is going to be 4 over 4 minus negative 2 is going to be 6, okay? And we're not going to stop here. First, we got to simplify this. We always want to simplify our slopes. Now that we have 4 over 6, that's going to simplify to 2 over 3. So our final answer is slope is equal to 2 over 3, okay? That's the slope of the line passing through those points. Now let's look at number 3. Number 3, our directions say circle the best answer. The directions for 3 say, given the following lines, identify what types of slope each graph has. So our answers for here are just going to be positive, negative, what are the other two? Increasing, not increasing, because that's the same thing as positive. Positive, negative, horizontal and vertical, undefined, or 0. Those two will be. So when we look at A, it's going down to the left, okay? It's going down. Ooh, that's a really bad line. It's going down, all right? Can I trace it? Ooh, drawing on the thing is hard, but it's going down, okay? The direction of this line is heading down. So since this line is heading down, this slope will be decreasing. All right, I'm just going to go ahead and type that one out. I believe this purple is a good color for you all to see. Decreasing. Why isn't that typing? Decreasing. And now when we look at B, our slope for this line, this one may be kind of hard to see, but our slope for this line is right here. Is this bold line down going this way, side to side. And since this isn't rising or falling, it's not increasing or decreasing. Remember, the slope of horizontal lines is 0. So this is no slope. Oops. When we look at C, we see that this one is going up and down. It's this one right here. The slope of this line, a straight up and down line, has a slope that is undefined. So that's going to be our answer here, undefined. And when we look at D, this one is going up to the right, okay? This one really going from right to left, it's pointing up, all right? Just do one of these numbers. There we go. It's pointing up to the right, not straight up, but it is increasing, going to the right. So this slope is going to be positive. All right. So when we have slopes that are going down left to right, that's negative. Slopes that are going up left to right, those are positive. Slopes that are going straight up and down, those are undefined. And slopes, lines that are going straight across, those things have no slope. Those are horizontal lines. All right, so now we're going to find the slope of each of the following functions, then circle the slopes that are the same. So our y equals -2, the slope of this one, and here, this is what I'll do for this one. To give you all a idea of how to use Desmos, we're going to do these in Desmos. So I'm going to split screen this. And we can type these things into Desmos to see what they look like. All right. So I find the slope of each of the following functions. Y equals 2. We can type this in. Y, actually, it's -2. Y equals -2. We see that slope is a straight line side to side. It's horizontal. So the slope of this is going to be 0. And I'm just going to skip down to C instead of going to B first. You all can do the ones on the other side. C says y equals 1/2 x. Oops. 1/2 x plus 4. If we look at the slope of this graph here, this one, let me put this in projector. Oh, okay. I like that. I'll put that in projective mode. This is reverse contrast. I actually kind of enjoyed that. I like the colors there. All right, in projector mode, we see our lines are bolded, our axes are bolded. This slope is increasing. It's going up left to right. And then the slope of this line is just going to be this number right next to x, which is going to be 1/2. So our slope here is going to be 1/2. If we look at E, this is not in slope-intercept form. So our first step is going to be to put it into slope-intercept form. To put this one into slope-intercept form, we're going to solve for y. And actually, it's nearly solved for y. I'm just going to write this in reverse order. This one has -y equals -2x minus 5. This has a negative y right here, so this is being multiplied by a -1, so we can divide by a negative instead of writing that out. We can just flip all these signs. Y equals 2x plus 5. And now what we have is this m right here, and our number next to x is this 2. So our slope on this side is going to be 2, okay? You all can do B, D, and F on your own after I went through. I'll do B. Well, what's the coefficient of x on B? Okay, what's this coefficient of x? That may be confusing, but if you know what the coefficient of x here is, with this negative in front of it, then you can do B. You all do B, D, and F on your own, okay? Which equations have the same slope? Once you finish doing B, D, and F on your own, you'll be able to do that as well. Number 5, add 1 point to the graph and create a line with an undefined slope, okay? So what is an undefined slope? When I think of undefined slope, because that's the important piece in this one, undefined slope, where's my draw tool? Undefined slope is when we have a line that goes straight up and down, okay? A line that goes straight up and down. So if we add 1 point, we have this point A here. We can add any other point above or below A. So that way this thing is going straight up and down. It's not the prettiest line, but you all get the point. You could put a point there. You can put a point at any spot at the same at x equals -3, and you would get it, okay? That would give you a line straight up and down. So the point here is to get a line going straight up and down. Let me go ahead and connect the line here. There we go. Not exactly straight, but you all get the idea. So number 6 says, find the slope of the given line. When we have a graph to find the slope from, we want to start off by picking 2 points, on the graph, 2 good points on the graph. So what I mean by good points, we want to pick 2 things where we have the lines crossing. We have a straight line going this way and up and down line crossing here, and our graph is here. So we could pick this. Oh, goodness. I forgot I was still drawing the line. So we could pick that point there. We could also pick, this is a possible point we could choose. This is a possible point we could choose since all the lines are crossing here. Here's another possible point we could choose. And then here's another possible point we can choose. The points of these 4 possible points, and even this one down here, of all the possible points that you can choose, it doesn't matter which of them you choose. They just have to be good points to choose that match up on straight lines on this graph, okay? I think someone asked me that a few days ago. Doesn't matter what points we choose. As long as they are good points like this that are on the graph, that are whole numbers on the graph, that the lines all cross, then no, it doesn't matter. To do these, to count these, we're going to do our rise. We have a starting here. We go up once. We go up once here, twice here. So our rise is 2. And then our run, we go start here and then we go over once. So our rise, our slope equals rise over run. And that's going to be 2 over 1. And we're not just going to leave it as 2 over 1. We're going to reduce. We're going to simplify. Simplify and reduce mean the same thing when we're talking about fractions. And that's just going to be 2. Now, if you chose these 2 points up here, it would be the same thing. Starting at this point, we go up once. We go up twice. Our rise is 2. And then we end up going over the same amount once. So our slope, starting at any of these good points that we've chosen, is going to be the same. It's going to be 2. All right, now we have reached objective number 4. That was objective 3 we just finished. Like I said, there are 2 objectives on this test. Here we have objective 4. The directions say, using the graph or equation of the function provided, find the indicated values. All right, so this says, given the graph, find our x-intercepts, our y-intercept, and our zeros. Excuse me. So our x-intercept. What is an x-intercept? If you think back to that last set of notes we did, I believe the notes we had on Tuesday. Yep, the notes we had on Tuesday. We went through what an x-intercept was and what a y-intercept was. An x-intercept is just where that graph crosses our x-axis, where it touches that x-axis, okay? And our y-intercept is where our graph touches the y-axis. So looking at this, oops, where is this graph touching the x-axis? It's touching the x-axis. In case you don't remember, our x-axis is here, the one going side to side, and our y-axis is the one going up and down. All right, so our x-axis is being touched by the graph here. So this point here, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is -6, 0. That's where the graph touches our x-axis there. And now let's look at where the graph touches the y-axis. I'm going to pick a different color for that one. Here, the graph is touching the y-axis here. And this is 0, 1, 2. So this is 0, and then we went down, so that's -2. So 0, 2. The way we write our intercepts, our x and our y intercepts, those are going to be written as ordered pairs, not as numbers. We're not going to write for our x-intercept, we aren't going to write -6 because that wouldn't be correct. We're going to write it first off in the same color, but we're going to write it as an ordered pair. So this is going to be parentheses -6, 0, okay? And then we will write our y-intercept. It's going to be the same way, parentheses 0, -2. our x-intercepts and our y-intercepts are ordered pairs. Now, when we look at zeros and roots, those, for the most part, mean the same thing. Those are solutions to the equation. We're going to have the same number value as our x-intercept. So the zero of this equation isn't going to be an ordered pair. It's just going to be a number. So this one is going to be, oops, let me use the right color here. Where's my, there it goes. It's going to be -6. All right. There goes number 7. Let's look at number 8. This says, what are the x and y intercepts and the roots of this equation here? All right. So we have a couple of different ways that we can go about this one. I'm going to show you one way on this one and another way on number 9. On number 8, we are going to use good old Desmos. So this equation here is 7x minus 5y equals -35. So I'm going to go back to Desmos, delete that old equation, and type this one in. 7x minus 5y equals -35. Oop, 35. All right. And so when you're doing it this way, you want to make sure you type in the equation correctly. And your x-intercept, once again, is going to be where our graph touches our x-axis. So this is our x-axis right here at 0. You can click on it and it will tell you the point. This point here is -5, 0. That's exactly what we're going to put into our section for our x-intercept. So let's go here and just type it in. -5, 0. There we go. Our y-intercept is going to be where it touches on the y-axis. That's this point here, 0, 7. All right, 0, 7. 0, 7 here. So let's type that in as our y-intercept. 0, 7. Did I type a negative sign? I did. All right. Backspace, scoot this up on the line. And then once again, our roots, our roots are going to be written as just straight numbers. All right. So our value here is -5. So our root is going to be -5. X equals -5. All right. Oops, not 54, 5. Okay. So we've just done that version. Let's look at number 9, and I'll show you the version that was on the notes. It says, what are the solutions, or what are the x and y intercepts and the solutions of this equation here? If you want to go and put it back into Desmos, you can do that. I'm going to show you a method that we covered on our last set of notes that will be useful as well. So when we're looking for our x-intercept, the method that we went over was to cover out the one we aren't looking for. So that would be the y-intercept in this case. I'm going to just block that out. And then it said to solve as a one-step equation if we have to. In this case, we have to. We have -9x. You can think of this as 0 on this side. Ooh, that looks like a 6. We have -9x plus 18. That's not going to equal 0 on this side. That still looks like a 6. -9x plus 18 to solve this as a one-step equation. This would end up becoming, let's go ahead and type it out since my writing isn't so great. This would be 0 equals -9x plus 18. To solve this as a one-step equation, we'd subtract 18 from both sides, and this would be -18 equals -9x. And then we divide both sides by -9, and that will give us 2 equals x. All right. So having that 2 equals x, that's going to be one of our solutions. So we kind of just, while looking for our x-intercept, we solved for one of our solutions. So let's go ahead and put that in here. Solution is x equals 2. And then as an intercept, this is going to be 2, 0. Okay? Now we want to do this for our y. To figure out what our y is, I should have wrote that equation in pink instead of black. That's cool. To figure out what our y is, we're going to cover up our x this time. We've got this negative on our x, so we're going to cover that up. And what we have is 3y equals 18. Let's change colors to solve, use y. And to solve for this one, we're going to divide both sides by 3y. You know what? No, I'm not going to do it on this equation. I'm going to make another equation like I did before. We end up with a 3y equals 18. And to solve this one, we divide both sides by 3. And we end up with y equals, not 9, 6. Y equals 6, okay? And so since y is 6 here, when we go to write our y-intercept, this is going to be written as an ordered pair, 0, 6. All right? That's how you do that one. Number 10. Given the table, identify the x and y intercepts from it, okay? If you think about how we usually find x and y intercepts, the way we write them is going to be x intercept is going to be our number and 0. Our y intercept is going to be 0 and our number. It's really, really, really easy to pick those out from a table. So if we look at this table, let's start off with x. We look for something that looks like our number and 0. Oh, look at that right there. And then if we look, so before I get ahead of myself, and then once we see that, our number in 0, we can just write that in. That's going to be -3 and 0. And it's the same thing for y. We have, oh snap, we got one that looks like our y-intercept, 0 and a number. Same thing here. So 0, comma, -9. If you want another way of doing this, come back to the Zoom chat. I'll go over it because I don't want to have this video being too long. It already is kind of long at the moment, but that is the last problem. Okay, that's how we do all of those. So that's questions 9 or 1 through 10. I've gone through just about all of them. If you have questions on any of them, I didn't do. Which ones that I didn't do B, D, and F on number 4. If you have questions on any of them, make sure you come back to the Zoom chat and ask, okay? I want you all to do really well on this test, which is why I went through each of the things on the study guide, and it should be relatively easy, okay? If it's not, then come back, ask for help, and we will help you, all right?